we've gone another 10, maybe 20 yards, depending on where we started. If we started in the end zone, we're out of the end zone, I would say.
I want to start off with a simple question for you guys, and it's just kind of about your passion. You guys both have a passion for UFOs, UAPs. What to both of you guys? Why UFOs? Why UAPs? Why is that your passion?
Dave, you take it.
All right. Well, I would say I guess it became a passion because I guess the underlying passion was I want to know basically what reality is, what's going on in the world that's true, and I mean that's kind of driven everything I've done for my whole life. I'm just curious about what's true and what isn't, and so I've always been sort of interested in the UFO subject, but then I guess over the last 10 years, I've gotten sort of dove headfirst into it because there was just such a wealth of really great credible testimony and data, and of course, I sort of dove into ahead of the New York Times article in 2017. But there's too much evidence for anyone who's serious about just, if you're serious about thinking, there's too much evidence to ignore. And I was very curious about how we're still managing to ignore it, how most of the population is still managing to ignore it, and how did we get conditioned to turn a blind eye to something this important. So that's kind of what dragged me into it. And then of course, after I dove into this for a while, then I actually had an actual UFO encounter with my friend Jeremy Corbell, which I guess is not uncommon that people that engage with this wind up having the phenomena engage with them.
Did that
we're hoping that happens to us then.
Yeah, we would love that.
It could.
Did that encounter with Jeremy Corbell, your good friend, did that validate what you already thought, or did that increase what you already thought?
Well, I think we were like Jeremy and I were both pretty convinced that there's something real to the UFO phenomenon, and that there is a cover up of it. I think if anything, I think both of us kind of went, oh damn, oh now we're experiencers, and as opposed to just being guys looking at the data and judging it on its merits. Now we've had this experience, and we thought, oh, this is kind of oddly undermines our credibility, but definitely and totally reinforces in my mind that these things are real. I mean, when you've seen a really large structured craft floating in front of you for about a minute, you go, oh well, all right, I have no other explanation than that is non-human.
Right. You said that undermines your credibility. Did you find that doing these research there, back when I was young, the people who talked about UFO sightings were usually old farmers or people out in the country, and they didn't have much credibility. Now guys like you and Dean are coming forward, and scientists are coming forward. Do you see that perception changing a lot?
You didn't know David?
Why do you think it's changing?
You didn't know Dave was a farmer?
You didn't know that.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I was raised amongst farmers for a bunch of my life, but
I grew up working on a farm, so Mr. Brisco's making fun of me. I think
I grew up in Oklahoma, so I'm a hillbilly anyway. So
I had all my friends were all sheep farmers back when I was in middle school up until high school.
But isn't that true? I mean, you didn't really hear back in the 60s a lot of scientific people, admitting at least that there's a perception out there of these things.
The ones that did were fairly effectively often had their careers destroyed.
Right.
Like there was a guy named James McDonald who came out and criticized government secrecy, basically said there is a UFO story to be told, and criticize things like the Condon report, which was the report, the University of Colorado report about the Blue Book files, and that report basically shut down Blue Book. And James McDonald said, well, wait a minute, the summary that's at the front of the Condon report doesn't match any of the data within the Condon report. Why isn't anyone actually reading the report and reporting on it? And so he went on with media and basically had his career destroyed for doing it. Just because he said, look at the data that's in the report that you're using to shut down a UFO program.
Why were they pushing this knowledge back from people? The government just, is it still the same today? The government just don't want us to know what's going on? Or
I think it's changing, but it hasn't changed a lot. What do you think, Dean?
It's a different version of kind of the same. We were actually, if you look at it, we'll use a sports analogy. We've gone another 10, maybe 20 yards, depending on where we started. If we started in the end zone, we're out of the end zone, I would say. But there's still a lot of mileage to go. We still have people who are first or usually secondhand. I'm all about the firsthand. People who have touched these things and experienced them and been a part of those programs directly. But I think it's kind of like until a UFO tailpipe is dropped on the congressional hearing table, right, or a dead alien arm. I think we're going to get as far as we can get. But what's really interesting is that the media just goes for the real blatant stuff, but there's so much more nuance that is happening now that we've gotten. And as David was saying, it used to be this stigma, this scarlet letter that you would be stamped with.
Right. Yeah.
Presidential candidates were disqualified basically because of saying that, which is why Jimmy Carter kept it on the down low after he became president. But so I think that it has gotten further, but there's still, I think now we can see actually how much further that we need to go, which is new. So I kind of want to, it's kind of two things. One is I want to say, hey, we were able to get close to the entree. We had an hors d'oeuvre, we had an appetizer, we still need the entree, but at least we've had those two items on the menu. So I do feel, pretty good about that.